Let's dive straight into it, shall we?
The woman in the yellow jacket. She has no idea that she's being stalked. Moments earlier, a man is seen sitting right by the exit, just out of frame of the camera. People don't seem to notice him as they walk by, but he's been sitting there for over 15 minutes. But what nobody knows is this man has spent the last 23 years in prison and has just been released. When the woman in the
I'd say 5'4". Concerning. Always be aware of your surroundings, ladies and gentlemen. Please always be aware of your surroundings.
yellow jacket exits the store, the man gets up and follows her into the parking lot. Minutes later, in another part of the same shopping mall, security footage shows 22-year-old college student Drew Sjodin entering Marshall Fields. As she walks through the store, she gets a phone call from her boyfriend. The moment she exits the store, the phone call suddenly disconnects, and Drew Sjodin goes missing. Drew's disappearance would remain a mystery, and women across the Midwest would continue to be terrorized if it wasn't for one survivor who will come back and take down a killer.
Okay, intro. Kinda ate that intro.
Year is 1999. In the small town of Pequot Lakes, Minnesota, 18-year-old Drew Sjodin is living a happy life with her mother and father. Drew is finishing her senior year of high school, and as graduation approaches, she and her family begin to narrow down their choice of colleges. Her father, Alan, sees that the University of North Dakota is on the list. Together, they decide that Grand Forks, North Dakota, will be her new home away from home.
I had convinced Drew to come to Grand Forks because it was a safe place.
Even though sending Drew more than 300 miles away is
Yikes, that comment feels like it's gonna bite somebody in the butt real quick. Also, I love her little shortcut. This is kinda cute. Okay.
hard, both of her parents encourage her to go, knowing it is the perfect place for her to fulfill her dreams. As Drew settles into college life in Grand Forks, she makes sure to stay close with her parents, coming home whenever she can on school breaks, and keeping in touch, calling them regularly.
Hi, Daddy, it's me. I want to call and tell you happy Valentine's Day. I love you. Hope you're having fun. Talk to you later. Bye.
She truly was coming into herself, knew who she was. Just a genuinely warm, caring, loving, wonderful young lady.
2003. Drew is now a senior at the University of North Dakota. She's been doing well in school and has a thriving social life with many close friends and her new boyfriend, Chris. She also works as an intern and volunteers in her community, all while working 2 part-time jobs. On Saturday, November 22nd, she's scheduled for an afternoon shift at the Victoria's Secret store inside the Columbia Mall in Grand Forks. At 4 p.m., Drew finishes her shift and decides to walk through the mall to do some shopping. Security footage from Marshall Fields shows Drew entering the store and browsing through the aisles. She's looking for something to give her mother for Christmas. At around 5 p.m., cameras capture her holding her phone to her ear as she walks through the store. She's talking to her boyfriend, Chris Lang. But at 5:04 p.m., just minutes after she picked up the phone, the call abruptly drops with no warning, and Chris is left hanging on the other line.
She said something like, okay, okay, and I know it struck me as a little odd. It wasn't a scream, it wasn't it was just it cut off.
Chris immediately tries calling Drew back, but there is no answer. He tells himself it was probably just bad cell reception and assumes she'll call back soon. Then, at 7:42 p.m., after over an hour of waiting, his phone rings. It's Drew. Chris is relieved and eagerly picks up his phone. But there is no response from the other end of the line. For the next few seconds, he waits, hoping to hear her voice. But all he hears is static, wind, and the distinct sound of buttons being pushed. Moments later, the call abruptly ends again. Chris decides to call Drew's mother, Linda, to let her know something strange is going on with Drew.
He said something to the effect, I don't want to alarm you, but I haven't heard from Drew. I tried to call her, and she hasn't shown up to her second job. And I then knew immediately something had to be wrong.
Linda calls Drew's father right away. Their instincts tell them Drew is in trouble. And, to make matters worse, both parents are hundreds of miles away from their little girl. Knowing they need to act quickly, they begin calling Drew's friends and coworkers. And once they realize no one has seen her or even heard from her,
See, moments like these, I'm happy about Find My Location. Because my homies be on my butt. They know exactly where I am 24/7.
the police are called. It's 9 p.m. on November 22nd. A winter storm sweeps across Minnesota, making the roads increasingly dangerous. But without hesitation, Alan gets in his car and begins the nearly 5-hour drive to North Dakota. His daughter is missing, and he needs to be there.
I immediately
We love that. Don't relate, but we love that.
jumped in my pickup and drove to Grand Forks.
There was a snowstorm that night. I had to follow behind a semi because it was snowing so crazy. You don't want to think the worst. You know, you're trying to be positive.
Shortly
But be realistic.
after 2 a.m., over 9 hours since Drew seemingly vanished, her father, Alan, arrives in Grand Forks.
I drove over to the parking lot at Columbia Mall, found her car, and then saw all of her possessions still in the car.
He finds her belongings, her wallet, cash, and driver's license. The shopping bag from Marshall Fields is there too, with her mother's Christmas gift still inside. The only thing missing from the vehicle is Drew's cell phone.
That really set off a lot of alarms. All of the indicators were that there was something sinister going on.
Surprised nobody broke into her car and took her bag, considering it was just out there in the open like that.
Alan makes a decision to stay in the parking lot for the rest of the night.
I was waiting for Drew to show up. I was hoping that she had, gone off with someone and just was coming back to get her vehicle. That was my hope.
But as the hours pass and the cold deepens, there is still no sign of her.
I had 1,000 things going through my mind. At that point, none of them were good.
8 a.m., November 23rd, 15 hours since Drew was last seen. The sun rises over the Columbia Mall parking lot, but there is still
Still have not called the police. Crazy.
no sign of the 22-year-old. Both of her parents are deeply concerned. Drew would never just disappear like that, leaving everything behind. Drew's mother and father begin organizing a search. They appear on local television, urging the public to help. And because of their insistence, the police finally start taking her case seriously. They turn their attention to Drew's cell phone, the only item missing from her car, hoping the cell data might provide a crucial lead.
The Sprint phone records indicated that her phone was
And Sprint. Guys, we might be cooked. We might be cooked. But also, then again, I'm like, damn, police kind of suck. They said she's missing. How old is she? 22? She probably out partying and stuff, Police really do be disregarding a lot of important info sometimes.
still on and pinging in the Crookston area, which is a town east of Grand Forks in Minnesota.
We believe at this time that we had a kidnapping. And you bring in Minnesota, it's a kidnapping that's crossed state lines.
The local investigation quickly gains national attention, and the story of Drew's abduction spreads across the country.
The family of missing college student Drew Sjodin is still holding out hope that she will be found alive.
We had people out on ATVs. We had people out on foot, shoulder to shoulder, walking ditch banks. And even with the cold and the snow, we had busloads of people walking up and down ditches and roadsides.
Drew's parents help lead the search effort, with more than 1,300 volunteers searching through rural roads, covering streets, storefronts, and
I just gotta say this because my own privilege of seeing many, many cultures and stuff. Love that they're doing all of this. Truly love all the efforts that are being done to help find somebody who's missing. The only thing I want to say, I feel like I need to say, is I really hope that police and people in communities are putting in this much effort to find Native Americans, African Americans, Hispanic people, any other culture, I really hope that we are putting the same amount of effort with, resources and all that to every type of victim. Thank you.
Campus buildings with flyers, refusing to give up hope.
We're not going to quit. We'll keep looking until we find her.
But as the search area expands, so does the fear that whoever took Drew has been one step ahead of them. It's now November 25th, 6 days since Drew's disappearance. Searchers combing the riverbanks near Crookston, Minnesota, spot something along the edge of the water. At first, they can't tell what the black object is, but as they move closer, they realize it's a shoe.
The shoe was found under the bridge on the Highway 75 bypass going into Crookston, which goes over the Red Lake River. Actually, how it exactly got there, we don't know.
Drew's loved ones confirm that the shoe matches the one she was wearing the night she disappeared.
To find the shoe, it was pretty indescribable emotion. It's hard to even imagine because it was so cold to think, my daughter's out there now without shoes on. Just a gamut of emotions.
As days turn into weeks, the search runs dry. Her cell phone stops pinging, and Drew's parents fear that her case will go cold. But just as hope begins to fade, more than 1,500 miles away in a small town in Oregon, a woman named Shirley Iverson is sitting at home watching the evening news. A segment about Drew's disappearance comes on, and as the reporter lays out the details of the case, suddenly Shirley has a sinking feeling in her stomach. The circumstances sound familiar, too familiar, because one night, 29 years earlier, she came face to face with a man that would change her life forever, the man who she believes took Drew Sjodin. It's 1974. Shirley Iverson is an 18-year-old college freshman.
I went to my car to drive home. As I got to my car, there was a rap on the window, and it was a man asking for a ride home. It was someone whose brother was a classmate.
Girl, I'm gonna tell you this once and only once. Don't let nobody into your car at night. If you are alone, do not, no matter who will be knocking on your window, you literally, the smallest sliver of crack of that window. Even better, don't even open the window. If you can hear them perfectly, you're fine. Don't even, don't roll down the window fully. Don't unlock your car, in that moment. Can I get a ride home? You know what, sir? Let me give you, the bus is over there. Women, you are beautiful, divine creatures, okay? And there are people out here that want to take a bite out of you, okay? They're feral. Do not ever engage, regardless, unattentedly, without caution towards a man or even a woman sometimes. Careful out here. I don't care if you're like, oh wait, that's my brother's classmate. Call your brother. And be like, hey, your friend needs a ride, come pick him up at that point.
And this was his older brother, Alfonso. A ride home about 7 blocks.
You don't know him. That's my brother's classmate's older brother. You don't know him. Don't let him in. Don't help him, okay? Even though if you know you don't know him like that.
With Alfonso. A ride home about 7 blocks would be no big deal. So I gave him a ride home. And he sexually assaulted me. The terror is just profound as you're being strangled. I drive home, and to this day, one of the hardest things was climbing that flight of stairs to awaken my mother and to tell her what happened.
This is going to sound cruel because, I am gender fluid, but as a gender fluid, I have to take my percentage of responsibility within the male community. Don't be nice to a man. I know that's hard to say coming from me. Don't be nice to a man. Look at what happened there. She was nice to him. She gave him a ride. What did he do? Exactly.
After the news report ends, Shirley immediately calls the tip line, convinced that the same man who assaulted her is responsible for Drew's disappearance. and she tells investigators his name is Alfonso Rodriguez. Now, armed with a photo of the man surely identified, police begin reviewing hours of surveillance footage from the mall recorded on November 22nd, 2003, the day Drew disappeared. In the footage, they spot a man who closely resembles him walking up and down the aisles and later lingering near an exit. But the images are not clear enough to make a definitive identification.
Yeah, clearly not. 2003, working with potato cans. What is this? Shot on a tater tot?
At this point, there is still nothing directly linking Alfonso to Drew. So, they decide to confront him directly, driving over an hour to McIntosh, Minnesota, where Rodriguez is working at a construction site.
We're working on the disappearance of this gal, and everybody's a suspect until we can rule them out, you know. What were you doing on Saturday? Well, I went to Grand Forks under that point.
Within minutes of questioning Alfonso, he admits that he was not only in Grand Forks on the day Drew disappeared, but that he was also shopping at the Columbia Mall. But as the cops press him further, he claims he has nothing to do with Drew's disappearance and denies any connection to her.
Now, a girl is abducted and taken from the store, and you're right in that area. If you are involved, if you did have a conversation with this girl and something went wrong, it's not too late to change back and tell us what happened. I never met her.
Investigators hold him overnight, but by morning, the district attorney's office determines there isn't enough evidence to file charges. They are forced to release him. But Special Agent Dan Alquist can't shake the feeling that Shirley is right, and Alfonso is the man who took Drew. With the clock ticking, they know they need to make their next move quickly. Drew could still be alive somewhere, and Alfonso might be the key to finding her. They place him under 24-hour surveillance and get a warrant to search his car.
And the first thing that struck me is the car appeared to be kind of immaculate. In the trunk, there was a fishing rod and a pair of rubber gloves and a smell of cleaner.
Inside the vehicle, detectives find something odd. A glass jar filled with bleach.
And in that cleaning substance was submerged a lock blade knife.
Next, the forensics team begins a detailed search of Alfonso's car.
Looking at this light-colored interior, he pointed with his finger at a tiny little speck. Then we looked at the right rear passenger's window, and there's some of these tiny little specks on the glass. The blood that was present was found to be Drew Sjodin's blood.
When I heard that her blood had been found in the car, it hit me in the gut like I couldn't breathe.
The news is tough for Drew's family to hear, but they continue to hold on to hope that she could still be alive, even though they know the odds grow slimmer with each passing day.
I just remembered crying into the night and praying and hoping that I would hear from her, that she would show up, or I would hear some wonderful news.
The team surveilling Alfonso is notified right away. They hurry to arrest him and bring him in for further questioning. If there is any chance that Drew is still alive somewhere, Dan knows the only person who can tell them where she is Alfonso himself. But when they press...
Always got the ugliest pictures, bro. They always be like, they want to make sure you feel a certain way about these suspects for sure.
Him for more information, he shuts down, refusing to tell them anything. Drew's family, friends, and rescue teams relentlessly continue their search. But 147 days after her disappearance, a sheriff walking alongside a rural roadside makes a disturbing discovery.
I was walking along this road, looking down into the ravine. I saw something, and I walked down there to see what it was, and it was Drew's body.
Drew's parents are in a state of shock. Their little girl, is gone.
My last exit out of Grand Forks was seeing the yellow cordoned off area. And all I remember asking is, would somebody please be with her all night?
It was devastating. You spend your whole life protecting your kids, and then to have this happen, it was really a shock for me.
Drew's friends and family mourn her loss, and the entire community comes together to honor a young woman who brought light and warmth to everyone around her.
God of grace, we thank you for Drew, for the many ways her all too brief life has touched and enriched so many lives.
She had a huge heart, she had a beautiful smile, and she's just a fantastic young lady that went way, way too soon.
For the next 2.5 years, Drew Sjodin's family waits for their day in court, waiting for the man responsible to be brought to justice. Finally, on August 14th, 2006, the trial begins. As the case unfolds, the jury comes face to face with Alfonso Rodriguez. They learn about his history of violence and walk through the surveillance footage from November 22nd, 2003, and the last hours of Drew's life. 2 hours before Drew's disappearance, Alfonso is seen walking up and down the aisles as if he is browsing for something, but he isn't interested in anything on the shelves. Instead, he peers over them and then lingers, standing still and watching other customers move through the store.
He then sits on a bench right next to the exit, and he sits there for some 15 or so minutes.
He did appear to be watching women as they were exiting the store. It was quite chilling to see him hunting like that.
And at one point, a blonde female exits the store pushing a shopping cart, and Rodriguez got up and followed that person out of the store.
The woman, who from a distance bears a striking resemblance to Drew, has no idea how close she was to a dangerous predator. She leaves the store unharmed, unaware of the man behind her. Less than 2 hours later, Drew appears on the other side of the mall, shopping at Marshall Fields. That's when Alfonso Rodriguez follows her outside of the store, through the mall, and into the parking lot.
He decided it was time to make his move, pulled out his knife, forces her into his car, and drives out of the area.
With Drew trapped in the car, Alfonso brings her to a remote area where, tragically, he takes Drew's life.
I have dreams about that. She shouldn't have to worry about being unsafe. You should be safe. That is very, very, very haunting for me.
Automatically being born female or presenting feminine puts quite a big target for all genders, straight off the bat. Thank you to patriarchy and misogyny.
All I remember was staring out my window and just feeling so helpless and so hopeless. And, you know, the maternal instinct was I wanted to somehow be able to save her.
During the trial, Drew's parents and loved ones sit silently in the courtroom. When it's time for Shirley Iverson, Alfonso's first victim, to take the stand, all eyes are on her as she tells the jury her story. She bravely describes the night of her attack. Drew can't be there to speak for herself, but through Shirley's words, her voice is heard.
With Drew Sjodin's father sitting quietly a few feet behind him, Rodriguez offered few words, his head down as the charges against him were read aloud in court.
To wit, that Alfonso Rodriguez Jr. did abduct Drew Sjodin from the JCPenney store parking lot.
After less than 4 hours of deliberation, on August 30th, 2006, the jury returns their verdict. Alfonso Rodriguez is guilty of the kidnapping and murder of Drew Sjodin.
I know it wasn't easy a decision for the jurors, but Drew's voice was heard today.
I did wish that there was more that we could do because it couldn't bring Drew Sjodin back. But we obtained justice on that day.
Right now, he's serving life in prison without the possibility of parole.
When the community and Drew's family learns that Alfonso Rodriguez was a level 3 sex offender and had already served 23 years for his crimes against Shirley and others before he was released and took Drew's life, Lyndon knows something needs to change. Drew's mother becomes determined to ensure this never happens again and pushes for the creation of a national database of sex offenders open to the public. Linda's advocacy is a success. In 2006, the White House adopts the bill, named Drew's Law, establishing the database nationwide.
As I speak across the United States after losing my daughter, I really searched and looked towards what could I have given her.
Through organizations such as Fight Like a Girl, Linda helps to provide self-defense training for young people across the country.
As long as I have a voice, I will try to give voice to all victims, not just Drew, but to all victims. I think she'd be pretty proud.
Drew's legacy lives on through the love and compassion of her family and friends, and through the countless lives her story continues to inform, empower, and help keep safe.
Glad to hear two amazing stories tonight about, sadly, people losing their lives, but their families, trying to carry on their legacies for so long after their passing, by making organizations in a way, didn't save the one for them, but they inherently, they might not have saved the one, but they're doing a really good job on saving many more countless possible victims, by creating new laws and databases and groups and organizations to keep people aware of the problems that occur in the world, as well as protective measures, so that none of these horrible acts can hopefully proceed in the future, giving people tools and stuff to protect themselves as well as their loved ones, which I very much appreciate.